everyone, this is Steve Krause, and welcome to English 444 for spring 2011. It's a little brief introductory video for me to tell you a little bit about myself, about the class, hit a couple highlights for things. I'm looking right now at the course webpage, English engl444.stephendkrause.com. That's where most of the stuff for the class is going to take place, and you found it because that's where I posted the video. And what I want to do is I just want to hit a couple of the highlights. I'm going to start with the syllabus, talk a little bit about the schedule, and touch a little bit on the writing assignments. But you should be reading all these things over, so I'm just going to be hitting just a few basic highlights, okay? All right. So looking at the syllabus, there I am, there's my name, all that kind of information. I'm still in Hoyt Hall, which is the dorm. We're going to be moving back into Prairie Hill at the end of the summer, but for the spring term, I'll be around there. I have fairly limited office hours, just on Mondays and Wednesdays from noon until 1, but I can meet with people at other times, and because it's an online class, I tend to find that people want to meet with me via things like Skype or email or that kind of thing. I should also point out that I'm teaching one class on campus in Porter Hall, so it may be a situation where my office hours actually aren't in Hoyt but are in Porter. I'll keep you posted on that, especially if you want to come meet with me during office hours. Okay, about the books, let's see. You need to get this book, which is it's Here Comes Everybody by Clay Shirky. We'll be reading through that, and then and you need to get this book, Content Strategy for the Web by Christina Halverson. And you need to get this book, which will be very useful in terms of understanding the HTML thing, by Elizabeth Castro. Now, truth be told, if you know enough about HTML, you probably don't need this book per se, but this is the one that I'll be referring to. And last but not least, this book, which is Letting Go of Words, which is actually a really, really good, useful book. That they're all good books, but this is one that I added this last year that I find particularly useful. All these books are the kinds of things that you should be able to get at almost any trade store by ordering them online through Amazon or some other sort of textbook service, and they should be available at the University Bookstore. Okay, so some preamble warnings. The first one's about technology stuff. Here's the thing. The class is called Writing for the World Wide Web. So as a result of that, we will be doing some stuff that's beyond just the sort of things that you might write for a normal writing class or a literature class or something like that. We'll be doing some basic HTML coding. We'll be working with some CSS. You'll have to be working with WordPress, which is the software that you'll be using for a portfolio. Things like that. None of this stuff requires any previous experience, and all these are things that I'm going to be offering instructions on and help with all through the semester. That said, it is true that if you've got previous experience with these things, it'll be a lot easier to do. And conversely, if you're kind of afraid of these things, it could be a challenge that you're going to have to face. The second issue that's important to point out is, as I say here, the curse of the spring term. The good news is it's only 7.5 weeks long. The bad news is it's only 7.5 weeks long, and what we have to do is everything that we would do in a 15-week semester in a 7.5-week semester. So it's really a class that moves twice as fast as the fall or winter courses. That can be good because we can get things over with. I mean, I like the idea of a shorter semester as well. But it can be bad, especially if other things come up. So just something to be aware of. This is not the kind of class where if you've got a vacation scheduled for the first week in June, it's probably not going to work out. Okay, stuff you need to do. As I say here, the class is worth $12.50 for undergraduates and $1,500 for graduate students, and I outline that here in the stuff you need to do section. The first thing that's important is about online attendance, because it's not a self-paced course. Some online courses are like that, though not very many, where you can log in on, say, a Friday and do the entire week's work, or I've even heard of some online classes where the whole course is there and you can finish it the first week of the semester or the last week of the semester. It's up to you. This isn't like that. And as a result of that, there's actually an online attendance component to it. And the way I explain it is this, is you have to be online present during the course of each week, between Monday and Wednesday, and between Wednesday and Friday. When you start looking at the schedule, you'll see what I mean in terms of how that works out. If I don't think that you're present 2 times during the course of the semester, I will dock you 30% of your participation grade. And if you're absent more than 2 times, I'll dock you 120% of your participation grade, which means that you can't pass the course. I know that may seem kind of severe, but I'm here to tell you that your online attendance and interaction and participation is critical for this course for this to succeed for all of us, including you. Participations were 300 points, and for the most part, what participation is about is discussions that take place on this website right here in this forum. Basically, I'll post something to get a conversation going, and then you'll add comments to it and comment on my original post and also comment on things that your fellow classmates post as well. You'll get the idea of this as we go along. There's also a fair amount of small group work that takes place in a class like this. It is, after all, a writing class, and one of the ways we learn how to write better is by showing things that we write to other readers, and that's a lot of how the small group work works. The writing projects are worth 700 points, and the way that works is it breaks down to is there's the XHTML CSS exercises, which is the first thing we're going to do, and that's kind of a pass no pass sort of project, so it's not worth any points, but you have to do it in order to pass the course. What we'll do right after we do the XHTML CSS exercise is move into the CSS Zen Flower Pot exercise. This will make sense when we get to it. And then the last 2 exercises, projects I want to talk about here, the Semester Social Media Project and Content Strategy Portfolio. These are a little unusual in the sense that they're semester-long sort of activities and fairly in-depth kinds of projects. And we'll be touching on them as the semester goes along. One of the things that's interesting about writing for the World Wide Web is that the way that the class is set up, at least for me, is it really is kind of like a web. Most writing classes I teach have a sort of linear structure to them. First you do this assignment, then this assignment, then this assignment. This class isn't really like that in the sense that it's true the XHTML CSS exercises have to come before we do the CSS Zen Flower Pot assignment, but the semester social media and the content strategy are things that really are going on throughout the whole semester, and we'll be touching on them in different points throughout the term. Anyways, you'll get the idea. There's a lot more explanation of these assignments on the website. Graduate students taking this class, since it's a 400 level class, need to do an extra project, which is basically a electronically mediated interview, and that's why that accounts to the point difference. This is why the class is worth $12.50 for undergraduates and $1,500 for graduate students. Graduate students will want to read about their project on the link up above the graduate student project. And last but not least, there's the English 444 portfolio. It's worth 250 points. And essentially what this is the way that you've set up your WordPress.com website. In other words, since it is a class on writing for the World Wide Web, and since it is a class about web design, you should have a web-based portfolio using this software, WordPress, which is one of the more common softwares out there, to make a professional presentation. And that's a little bit different from the content of what's in the portfolio, if that makes sense. And hopefully it will make sense as we go along through the term. Generally speaking, I'm against late projects. The only excuse I'll allow is if you tell me something's going to be late before it's due. I'll usually make an exception. Otherwise, I take off a letter grade for every 72 hours something's late. And in order to pass the course, you have to complete all of the major projects, regardless of the grade and other things in the class. Okay, there's a number of other things I'd like to talk about, but just to be brief for the time being, I just want to spend a little bit of time on the schedule. If you look where it says Spring 2011 schedule, this is pretty much the way that this is going to run throughout the term. But you know, there are things that could change as things go along in terms of our schedule. I purposely kind of front load the schedule, so there's a lot of stuff going on more at the beginning than at the end of the class, because it's easier to, you know, if we have to change things, to change it for later than it is at the beginning of the term. Way that it works is that when it says do these things by Monday and finish by Wednesday, what that means is you should start doing these things on Monday and then wrap it up on Wednesday, and do these things by Wednesday and finish by Friday. That means that you should start on Wednesday. So for example, in this week on Wednesday, you'll see we'll set up initial work groups for the content strategy project. the read and discuss 20 things I learned about the browser and the web. Start working through exercises 1 through 3. You should do all those things beginning on Wednesday. The idea is that people will start posting things on Wednesday about 20 things they learned about the browsers and the web, and then we'll finish that discussion by Friday. Does that make sense? I hope it does, and it'll hopefully make some more sense as we go along here. So, okay, welcome aboard, and post your comments and questions and things like that underneath here, and I'll see you online.